Hello viewers, this is Major General Neelendra Kumar for the YouTube channel Lex Consilium Foundation and the playlist Nurturing Smart Teachers. I am talking to Advocate Anil Malhotra, who's a renowned authority on international family law. And in part three, my question to him is that having seen all these issues that we discussed in part one and two, I come to the matters relating to citizenship, passport, dual nationality, that is the OIC category of Indian citizens who have acquired foreign nationality, and they may also have a family, the children who are impacted by the aspects relating to citizenship, passport, etc. There is also a matter concerning registration of foreign citizens who live in India, and there are complex issues involving such aspects. Now, what is the Indian law with regard to dual citizenship, and what are the basic conditions for acquiring foreign citizenship? Would you like to throw some light on that?
Sir, first of all, we have a very clear policy in India which emanates from Article 9 of the Constitution and Section 9 of the Citizenship Act. We forbid dual nationality. If you are an Indian and you acquire a foreign passport, you have to surrender and give up your Indian nationality. But then, with a huge Indian diaspora and people moving in and out of India, families relocating, children coming, children living here for long periods, spouses living here for long periods, families started splitting up. So the government of India created a category of second class of citizens called overseas citizens of India by amending the Citizenship Act. So it gives you a lifelong free visa with other restrictions and benefits which may be notified from time to time. So if you have a child who is in OCI, then the child can live freely without the requirement of a visa. To be given every time the child comes and goes. Now, this was a big problem when children had to be relocated or children had to be moved because fresh applications were required to be made and so on and so forth. Then the question came whether children born in India to foreign nationals who were Indians, are they entitled to Indian citizenship? And the answer is no. You have to go to the country's embassy or consulate in Delhi and register your birth and take a US, Canadian, or American passport. Now, this has become a bone of contention in matrimonial disputes, whereby without the signature of the other spouse, the passport, the nationality, and OCI card is not given. People go to court and say, he's not agreeing, what do I do? Child is overstaying, child is stateless. In child removal matters, it is happening. Children born in this country are stateless because the foreign spouse says, I want the foreign nationality. Spouse living in India says, I want Indian nationality. No passport application is made. So this has generated a new crop of disputes in the family law realm, which are baffling. And again, we come back to the panacea, a vibrant jurisprudential constitutional law machinery of the High Court of the Supreme Court. Because there is no court equipped to handle these problems. And I honestly feel that these matters may be beyond the comprehension or beyond the wisdom and thinking of family court judges. They have never dealt with these subjects. They don't even know what to do. And unfortunately, there are no family law practitioners in the district courts because everybody is doing everything. So we are jack of all trades, master of none. So in this scenario, these problems to be resolved on in matrimonial disputes are also being used as weapons to get even. So I have to go to court saying I need an extension. But then there are also issues which the Supreme Court is seeing, that there is a custody dispute. Passport of the child is in court, and one fine morning nobody appears for the child with the spouse who has custody, and it transpires to the Supreme Court or the High Court that the man or the woman has fled the country. So this has started happening now. Why? Because you go to the embassy of your country, American, German, Russian, Canadian, and say, I want an emergency travel document because I lost my passport of the child. Or it is stolen, or there is a dispute. So they give you an emergency travel document and you leave. Or you use the illegal route via Nepal. Now, where is this leading? Where is this heading? So passports, citizenship are becoming problems. Then, in the case of passports for adoption, now Passports Act, read with the passport rules, governs the issue of passports. There are 13 grounds on which a passport can be refused. But then, in adoptions, the passport office, in their manual of guidelines, has said there should be an NOC from Kara for the passport to be given to the child. Or the child is going to be given an Indian passport. The child is not living in India, If there was a domestic adoption, let's say within the family, Kara NOC is not required for the passport. But if the child is to go abroad, there is to be an NOC from Kara. Now, where from does this spring? Who is the passport officer to question the adoption? Courts have struck it down. But then, these inter-family issues are becoming a grey zone in nationality and citizenship issues. Then there are children born to foreign nationals. They have a dual nationality. There are children I have seen with three passports: a Polish passport, let us say, an American passport, and another passport. Because most countries are flexible, we are not. So, amalgamating the Indian policy, we have to find a way out. And India is very clear. Once you give up your Indian citizenship, you have to surrender your Indian passport to the Indian embassy wherever you are, and you will never get Indian citizenship again. I think that's a good policy. I'm happy and proud to be an Indian. I would not give up my Indian passport for anything.
Quite right.
Because I think the sovereignty and integrity of my country is very important to me. So if I surrender my citizenship and I want to live abroad, then that's fine. But you will become an OCI. But you will not become an Indian citizen.
Very well. Very well brought out. The next aspect that I would request you to dwell on relates to an NRI who may have property in India and he then passes away. What happens after his death? There are issues relating to domicile, inheritance, wills, and succession of property that come into play with regard to the property in India of an NRI who worked abroad but may have would have property in India, whether it is self-acquired or inherited. Now, what the foreign does the foreign domicile and inheritance tax in such situations create problems for the next of kin or those NRIs? Would you like to throw some light on that?
Sir, people who, let us say, migrated from the north part of India, maybe Punjab or maybe Delhi, or maybe down south, Kerala, Madras, Bombay, Goa, the Portuguese. Now, they have, let us say, lived for 50 years, 60 years abroad. They have properties controlled by relatives, family. They want to make arrangements for succession. Now, if I die intestate, that is, if I die without making a will, and again, if I am Hindu by religion, the Hindu Succession Act, class 1 heirs, class 2 heirs takes over. So we have a stream there. But I don't want to give anything to my heirs. I want to make shares. I want to give it to X, my caretaker, Y, my friend, blah, blah, blah. So I make a will under the Indian Succession Act 1925. So when you want to divert the natural course of succession, you resort to a will. And you explain why you do that. So I have advocated to all people who come in touch with me that when you have Indian properties, make an Indian will. When you have a property in England, make a will in the UK. Do separate wills because they are easier to execute. You can get a probate or a letter of administration if it is contested. And therefore, there is clarity in the matter. Now, he who succeeds will himself take care of his possession by virtue of being a person appointed by will. Otherwise, whoever is in control takes over. Adverse possession after 12 years. There are a lot of cases where people have to lose their properties because they have made no arrangement. The second issue is, if you make a will of a property in India, it can be executed in India according to Indian laws. If you mix it up and you make a joint will, then how can you bring in a foreign probate into India? You will have problems on whether it is a valid judgment, whether it was challenged, and so on and so forth. Multi-field complications. So you make a will in India, get it notarized wherever you are. There are cases where I have gone abroad to help with the paperwork and get things done. And then ultimately, when the property is to pass on, it goes by will in India. And the better part of it is, in India, we no longer have a estate duty. But in England, let's say, there is an inheritance tax in which a substantial chunk of the property goes to the government by virtue of a charge on the property. So why should you subject your property in India to an inheritance tax in UK when there is no estate duty in India? So it is more sensible, it is more plausible. And the number of people who have gone in the 60s or the 70s are now in a stage where they are going or they have already gone away. But then, how do we handle laws where I've come back and I want my property back and it's in possession of my relatives, tenants, and so on and so forth? So we have fast track provisions. There was one in the East Punjab and Restriction Act, Section 13B, eviction of tenants for NRIs, as service people do, where you could get into a fast track court to get your properties back. So this is a case to case basis provision. Now, you may not be able to make a will in India in respect of a property abroad because you will again have problems. So I think it is important to divide jurisdictions. And also in family disputes, you can make a settlement for your family and sort it out. Nowadays, you read in papers about family settlements in big corporate houses, business families, because the assets are huge. And if you start litigating, you probably will distribute everything among my brethren in my community substantially and fight for 25 years. So informal settlements, even in these kinds of cases, by family, you save tax, you save expenses, and you resolve the matter. So these kinds of mechanism on case-to-case basis, by application of mind, on really and we need to develop our lawyers on these fronts to do these kinds of issues and not just resort to litigation till the lawyer's next generation also takes care of it.
Right, very well. Now, Anilji, you have rightly come to a point where you said that we need to develop our lawyers. I proceed from there and I bring out to the viewers this wonderful book that you have authored. And this is the 10th book that has come out under your name. Now, with this, I have a very important question. Yes, and I'm a proud recipient of a copy that you very kindly sent it to me. Now, Anilji, I'm taking you away directly from the focus and the lens of your practice in India and abroad that goes into the background. And I would like to tell the audience here, particularly the law teachers, students, scholars, that Anil Malhotra has spoken in this book uh, covering the latest case law, foreign instruments, and to discuss the issues of broken marriages, abduction of children by parents. He spoke about ill maintained, abandoned spouses, failed adoptions, complications of citizenship, then about the identity issues in surrogacy, conflicting court decisions of foreign courts that are often perpetuated by prolonged, delayed, and endless hearings that are characterized of Indian litigating scene. Now, with this actuality and reality, Anil, I would request you to please share your views as to what would be your advice to the universities, law colleges in India, and also the Bar Council, your brethren in the Bar Council, as to how to start teaching followed by research in this subject, whether at undergraduate level or one of the electives in LLM, because it is obvious that more and more, you spoke about 35 million, there are going to be much more NRIs who would be abroad, Indians, people of Indian origin working abroad, and these problems will be compounded. So, what's your advice to the deans, directors, principals of law colleges, and the um, education providers, if I can use the word, of the Bar Council of India for the betterment of legal profession and thereby the community?
Sir, I would start by saying I quote the example of my son, who's actually a co author of this book, who has just returned after an LLM from the University of London from the same college where I went 40 years ago. Now he went on a fully paid Felix scholarship. I went on a loan which my father took. Now he has come back trained, groomed, and armed by School of Oriental African Studies, University of London, and having spent 6 years in for a BA honors degree and a 3-year LLB degree in Jindal Global University, which is an excellent place for bringing up, nurturing young minds. When I started putting this book together, I thought it was a very simple job because I thought I would collect all the reports and opinions I've accumulated over 25, 30 years, and there I am. But my son, when he saw through the first draft, he said, "You'll have to rewrite the whole thing. There is no analysis, there is no updation, there is no structuring, there is no segmentation." So he divided the book into 9 parts, made chapters. I would write, he would proofread and track more. And I had to redo the whole thing. And thanks to Oak Ridge, who is a very energetic and a vibrant publishing house, we were able to create a structured mechanism of 9 different sections with separate chapters of individual importance. Now, this is the message I want to go back to. This kind of an education, of training young minds, and put Jindal Global University and Jindal Global Legal Studies Institution.
Now, my first question with regard to this is that how does one proceed? Would you advise that first this subject be included as an elective course, say in all law colleges in metro cities?
Sir, there is a component by the Bar Council required mandatorily of family law. And I think this needs to be tweaked, let us say by Amity, let us say by General, let us say by Lovely Professional University. There are hordes of legal universities now. These universities, in their own wisdom, without the Bar Council making any requirement, can start electives, as Jindal has done, saying
Okay.
you can pick up anything, and there should be specialist teachers. You should start creating young legal minds trained in family law right at the start, and then taking it further, have an LLM with specialization in international family law. Why family law? Start talking about a different world. So you will groom a new breed of family law lawyers. Youngsters are smart, very well very well trained, very well engineered, with very sharp brains and insights, and they can start picking up new things. That's part one. Where is part two? We have created a system of judicial academies all over India. I go back to my teacher, Dr. Balram Gupta, who made wonders in the National Judicial Academy in Bhopal by having resource persons from all faculties and having structured programs in family law where judges from all over India were invited, family court judges were invited, and people like me, lawyers in Bombay, lawyers in Madras, lawyers in Bangalore were invited, and they came and spoke to us. We would
Very
sit and
well.
go. We
Now,
discussed. Sir.
yes. The second question related to the first that you just answered is, do you think that there is a scope for practice and application of this law?
Of course, sir, there is a dearth of specialists. There is a void. Youngsters come to me asking for advice because they don't know what to do, where to go. Should I file a writ of habeas corpus?
Okay.
Should I
Now,
file a copy petition? So the problem is that there is no build up. Problems have come, but there is no system or machinery.
yes. Now, linked, Anilji, the link to your response just now. The third point is that if such a course was to be introduced, say at post graduation LLM level or wherever, where do you think teaching material, the faculty would come from? What's your suggestion in that regard?
Sir, I think the training of resource persons from judicial academies, lawyers. See, there is a very good system. I'm sorry, I'm reverting to digital again. There are part-time teachers. There are course teachers. I lectured in symbiosis. I have lectured in Alsar. I have lectured in Nimrana. I have lectured in Amity. I have lectured in so many places. I have lectured in general. You, if you can't find full timers, you have a part time, you have online teaching, and you have few physical teachings. Get professionals, get lawyers, get resource persons, get retired people, let us say psychologists, let us say doctors, let us say social workers, to come and teach different sessions. You don't have to have a rigid.
Yes. Very, very well brought out that the faculty has to be sort of planned and approached, hired from the areas that you have just indicated, apart from online courses.
Sir,
And
people like Dr. Prabinder Bakshi, Malwa Mehta, the Indian Institute of International, we have not, unfortunately, we have not developed an academia because teaching is not a very payable job. But then we can pick up professionals. Why? It will take some time before we create a dedicated family law judiciary. Then use lawyers.
quite right.
Use Anil Kumar.
Well, thanks. I would not like to respond one way or the other to this. Thank you very much. I'm sure that this lecture in three parts by Advocate Anil Malhotra would go a long way in not only introduction but promotion of international family law as a subject. Stay with us. We would later, at some date, have part 4, where I would request Anilji also to bring out some of the major decisions by the Supreme Court uh, with regard to different aspects of this law. So, thank you very much, Anilji. We would continue and reach out to you for that part 4 also. Thanks.
Meanwhile, if anybody has an answer, needs an answer to a question, read the book. You'll find the answer because this is a practitioner's guide from an Indian perspective.
Yes, a very, very well input from the speaker, Advocate Anil Malhotra. And if still you have any question, please write it on in the comments column of this video. I'm sure that Anilji would attend to that and respond to that. Thank you very much.
Or I can be reached via my website through you.
Yes, he is also approachable on his website. Thank you very much.
Grateful, sir.
Back.
Thank you very much. Bye.